Today's topic is private and public sector. Economy is classified on the basis of ownership of the resources into private and public sectors. Private sector and public sector. So private car, and we know the government owned vehicles also there. So on the basis of the owner of the resources, economy is divided into private and public sector. It's one way of classifying economic activities into sectors on the basis of who owns the assets and is responsible for the delivery of services. In the public sector, government owns most of the assets and provide all the services. While in the case of private sector, ownership of assets and delivery of services is in the hands of whom? Is in the hands of private individuals or private companies. Railways or post office is an example of public sector. Railways, post offices are the examples of public sector, whereas companies like Tata Iron and Steel Company, TISCO, full form is Tata Iron and Steel Company Limited, or RIL, Reliance Industries Limited, these are all privately owned. And many other companies and our own vehicles also like that. Examples of private sector and examples of public sector are railways, post office, like that many examples we have. Activities in the private sector are guided by the motive of earning profit. Profit earning is the main aim in the case of private sector. To get such services, we have to pay money to these individuals and companies. We have to pay money. The purpose of the public sector is not just to earn profits, then what is their main aim? Welfare of the country and welfare of the people. Governments raise money through taxes and other ways, fines and fees and all, taxes and non-taxes like fines and fees, to meet expenses on the services rendered by them. Modern day government spent on a whole range of activities. What are these activities? Yes, there are several things needed by the society as a whole. Society as a whole, WHOLE, but which the private sector will not provide at a reasonable cost. Why? What's the reason private is not able to provide at a reasonable cost? Some of these need spending large sums of money which is beyond the capacity of the private sector. Large sums of money. Large sums of money is needed and it is not with the private sector. Also, collecting money from thousands of people who use these facilities is not easy. So if they provide these things, they would charge a high rate. Yes, private will charge high rate. For providing these things, they charge a high rate for their use. Examples are construction of roads, bridges, railways, harbors, generate electricity, provide irrigation through dams, etc. Thus, governments have to undertake such heavy spending. Governments have to undertake heavy spending, or I do say heavy investment. Heavy spending or heavy or high investment, and ensure that these facilities are available for everyone, or heavy investment, and these facilities are available to everyone. Available to whom? Not to a particular section, no, available to everyone. We can say the collective consumption. There are some activities which government has to support. The private sector may not continue their production or business unless government encourages it. For example, selling electricity at the cost of generation may push up the cost of production of goods in many industries. Many units, especially small-scale units, might have to shut down. Electricity generation is a very costly affair. So if it is done by a private sector, they charge very high rates and many units, especially small-scale units, might have to shut down because of the high cost or the rates charged by the private sector. Here, government steps in by producing and supplying electricity at rates which these industries can afford. Government has to bear a part of the cost by the government, and electricity generation is the best example, and it is done by the government and is providing electricity to the small scale industries at an affordable rate also by bearing the cost by the government, a part of it. Similarly, another example, government in India buys wheat and rice from farmers at a fair price. This it stores in its godown and sells at a lower price to consumers through fair price shops. That's what this coronavirus time India government is doing. Especially Kerala government has become a model for this by distributing these items or even delivering these items in their houses also. Sells at a lower price to consumers through ration shops. The government has to bear some of the cost that we already learned in Standard 9 PDS, that is Public Distribution System, through fair price shops and ration shops, and very essential goods are supplied. That's very good for the public, especially weaker sections of the community. And thirdly, there are a large number of activities which are the primary responsibility of the government. Primary and very important responsibility of the government, especially Indian economy is a mixed economy, mixture of public and private sector, coexistence of public and private sector. Primary responsibility. That's why government's role in a mixed economy is very high. The government must spend on these. What are they? Providing health and education. Primary responsibility means government must spend on this, especially providing quality education, health, education, etc. We have discussed these points already in other chapters in Standard 9. Running proper schools and providing quality education, schools and quality education, particularly elementary or the basic education. It's a duty of the government. India's size of illiterate population is one of the largest in the world, and nearly half of India's children are malnourished. MALNOURISHED, malnourished. And a quarter of them are critically ill, malnourished and illness also. Meanwhile, by God's grace, we are enjoying with the proper food and facilities till now. And we know infant mortality rates, that is before the age of 1 year, infants are dying. Mortality, what's the meaning of mortality rate? Mortality means death rates. Mortality rate. Infant mortality rate of Orissa is 87 or Madhya Pradesh 85 is higher than that of the poorest regions of the world, such as African countries. So government also needs to pay attention to aspects of human development, such as availability of safe drinking water, housing facilities for the poor, and food and nutrition, etc. So all the basic and essential facilities must be provided by the government, especially in the Indian context, because it accepted the concept of mixed economy. It's a duty of the government to take care of the poorest and most ignored regions of the country through increased spending in such areas. This coronavirus time also, India government has taken crucial steps to make the things in a better off condition than worse off. And a lot of steps have been taken by different state governments also. These are all good examples of our country, India, accepted the concept of mixed economy. As the word mixed itself, private and public sector and coexistence of capitalism and socialism. Today's assignment is textbook exercise page number 37. Question numbers page number 37, exercise question numbers 18, 19, 20, 21. 18th question. Using examples from your area, compare and contrast that activities and functions of private and public sectors. That is also with reference to your area in the country India, and you can give some examples as we already learnt, same examples only. 20th question. Give a few examples of public sector activities and why the government has taken them up. That is also very clear from our discussion, because private sector is not able to undertake high investment activities, and it is a mixed economy and it is availability to all. Like that, value points has come in that column wise analysis of the public sector. 21st question. Explain how public sector contributes to the economic development of a nation. That is also column wise analysis. The role of public sector, same answer. So more or less the answer for all these questions that we discussed now, that making in two columns and make the answer same answer only, but according to the statement of the question you have to change the words. So same answer writing, we are getting a lot of questions to answer. And another simple question. What's a simple question? How do we classify the economy? How do we, same answer, how do we classify the economy, Indian economy, on the basis of ownership of the resources, with examples, on the basis of ownership of resources. Owner, who is the owner of the resource? So you have to note down all the value points in the column wise analysis itself and write all these questions only. 18, 19, 20, 21 questions only. When you refer the answer, we can understand that the same answer only for all these, but the statement of the question or the answer changes according to the question. Okay, all the best. Thank you. Take care.